This next hour is going to be one of the most exciting and quick pace you've experienced in quite a while. I guarantee you'll be fascinated by a lot of the benefits that you'll receive, and time will just fly by here. So let's get started. First off, this is not legal or financial advice. We are recording. We will replay it. If you want financial or legal advice, you know, consult a professional. And without further ado, I want to introduce Bill Kinney. He is the managing partner of Maryland, West Virginia Homebuyer, private money lender at Jump Capital Lending, founder and manager of I-81 Real Estate Investor Meetup, and co-owner of Sandpiper Storage, and a realtor for Keller Williams since 2014. So that is kind of a mouthful, but I guarantee you, uh, Bill's into all kinds of stuff. He's a great operator, extremely talented, intelligent guy, but even more so than that, he's a great guy. So I want to introduce you to Bill. Bill, go ahead and kind of give us a little bit about yourself and how this whole journey got started.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was nice introduction. So yeah, I didn't buy my first rental till I was 40. I had worked for FedEx for 15 years, and I worked for a defense contractor, and I bought a rental. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was like, okay, I got to do something different with my life. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that was like blew my mind. Went out and bought a rental and bought it owner financing, seller financing. Not that I even know what that was, but I knew a landlord and he was selling off his property, so I got that. And then I kind of languished for a number of years trying to figure out what to do next because I had no idea. And so I took this course, and it said it was like a landlording course, and the first thing it said was go out and join your local real estate investor RIA or whatever, real estate meetup or real estate investor association meeting. So I went out and did that, scared to death to go in there, didn't know, and had one rental, didn't know anybody. Went in, and man, that really changed my life. Like I've met so many people that are still my friends today. I met my business partner. I learned how to wholesale. I got lenders and title people and friends and everything out of that. So that meeting going into there, that really changed my life. And from there, I met my business partner, and we both were trying to wholesale, and we were both unsuccessful. We joined together, and we started having a lot of success. So we wholesaled from 2014 to 2018. We were picking off some rentals along the way there, and then I would say it was about 2015 or whatever. I got my real estate license because I wanted to be able to list some of these deals that I was talking to these people that were just they only made sense to list, because they had a high mortgage on or whatever. So I got my real estate license, and then the week I got my real estate license, my employer, which was a government contractor, came to me and said, we're shutting down the program in 90 days. So I took that as a message that this was the time to go full bore into real estate. And so I never looked back from that point. From 2015, I learned how to be a realtor and then continued the investing pretty hardcore. So, and then 2018, Mike and I, my business partner, we were wholesaling, picking up some rentals or whatever. And we were like, hey, we're not moving quick enough. Let's put a company together. We'll join a nationwide mastermind. We'll build our own meetup group. And that's when we built I-81 Real Estate Investor Meetup. And it's like the biggest meetup in our area. It's been around for 8 years now. There's some other ones that have popped up since then, but ours is kind of like the old school one now. And we started buying rentals together. We started flipping together. That's when we added the flipping piece. We really started to generate a lot of business because our network was getting bigger. My realtor business was growing. That network grew, and that network fed our business. Our ID1 real estate meetup group started to feed our business. And then we did that. We had a big, wholesale operation, fixing and flipping, had, 30 doors or something like that. And then we got to the point where it was like the rat race was just consuming us. And then a couple years ago, we decided to change course after we joined a different mastermind event. It was a commercial mastermind. And at that point, we said, let's go a little bit bigger. Let's start buying commercial asset storage operations. and let's start doing hard money loans because we've raised all this money to do all these flips and stuff like that. So that kind of transitioned our business into those areas, and that's kind of where we are today. We still have the meetup. We have three. We ended up buying like six storage facilities, but we own three. We sold three of them off. And our hard money lending business has been doubling every year. I don't think we're going to double it this year because it's going to be way too much, but we're trying to get to around 10 million written. And I think we have about 6 million out right now in private funds, but those kind of come back at different varying times. So written is the number we go off of, and we're going to buy another storage business this year, and we're just going to keep you know diving into our networks and growing those and building relationships and seeing what opportunities come.
Wow. Got a lot going on, Bill. And for everybody watching, when you hear me say your network is your net worth, well, there it is. It started off with a REIA group,
100%.
networked, met his business partner, and everything has kind of grown from there. So, that's pretty impressive. So the reason we got you on, Bill, we've got a lot of investors that watch and watch the replays, and it's in our group, and a lot of them are newer investors. And we just have the question, and they have the question as to what it takes to work with a realtor. What's the secret sauce? Because a lot of people starting in the business start to try to interact with realtors and don't have a good experience, and then they see realtors as their enemy. So what
Yeah.
would you suggest?
Yeah, I'd get rid of that mindset. Realtors are not the enemy. Um, you just have to approach it the right way. So one of the things that a lot of people that come to our meetup, they're like, I want to meet the wholesalers. I want to know where the property is. Well, that's important. And, there are some wholesalers that, have big businesses and provide property all the time. But if you're just looking for wholesalers, you're missing the largest part of the inventory that the market is created by, and that's realtors. And realtors are probably much better lead generators than most wholesalers. And there's 1,000 times more of them. So making realtors a part of your lead generation strategy is extremely important. If you can pick up a couple more deals every year just from a relationship with a realtor, you're not paying wholesale fees, right? You're not paying wholesale fees. Or maybe you just let them list it on the back end, and maybe you create a great partnership. And if you get in with the right realtor is a good person to have on your side because they want to grow their business and they probably know a lot of people. And if you become an important part of their business, then you're going to start getting some of that business from them. So we just picked up two deals in the last 2 weeks, and it came from personal relationships that I had with realtors, and I didn't pay any wholesale fees for those things. And we bought them, and they're just amazing deals.
So no
Now,
marketing, no wholesale fees. That's just you straight
relationship.
relationships.
Yep. Straight relationships. And like we said before, everybody jumped on here, 60%, 50, 60% of realtors don't do anything. But the other 50% or the top 20%, if you can get in with them and show them that you know what you're doing and you're a good buyer and you close on time and you know what you're talking about and you can provide listings to them on the back end, you're going to pick up deals. There's no doubt about it. But you have to be consistent and you have to know what you're talking about and you have to, to close on time and you have to do all the right things because, that person that they're bringing you that deal is probably a past seller of theirs and that's a client of theirs. So, if they were smart, they would just do the deal like us here on this call, right? We would just buy it. Like I know Coach is a realtor. Somebody calls him, he's not giving it to a realtor. He's going to do the deal himself. But a lot of realtors are only their mindset is just to commissions, do deals like that, and buyers and sellers, and you can be their buyer, and then you can turn around and be their seller.
The biggest thing about realtors that you've got to understand is they have the best networks of anybody in the real estate business. They have huge networks. You take realtors that's been out there 15, 20 years, that's in the top 5 or 10 in their market, every year, year over year, their networks are huge. So if you can tap into that with those agents, I mean, it's a very powerful thing if you can do that.
Yeah. In realtor world, well, I know in the Keller Williams space, the number one lead generation strategy is to build a database and talk to that database. And the top 20 realtors have massive databases. And so people, when they just are calling these people all the time, they are just working leads all the time. And the people that have those big databases have opportunity coming to them. If you can plug into that, you're gonna do deals that you don't have to send, $10,000 of mail out every month to talk to people that don't know you and don't trust you right off the bat. And you're gonna have to, make six follow-up calls to get those deals. Where if you can make a personal relationship with a realtor and you have the wherewithal to do the deal, it's going to be the easiest money you ever made.
So if I were a new investor, new wholesaler, let's say, and I wanted to get started, maybe start working agents, how would you recommend who should I call? What is the characteristics or of the realtor that we're looking for?
Well, so there's a small sliver of realtors that are investor realtors. I don't think that really matters in this case. I think you should be calling the people that have the signs up in the yards, that have all the listings on Zillow and Realtor.com. Those are the people doing the deals. You may know 20 realtors, and I bet 18 of them do 1 to 0 deals a year. But the top 20%, the other two, they're probably doing 30 to 50 deals. So the problem you may have with that is that their network is big, and they may already have people that they can sell off market deals to, or people that are trusted. So you really got to talk to everybody because you don't know who the emerging stars are. But if you can get in with maybe, I would just call everybody, because it's not going to hurt to call everybody. But you may find people that are emerging and getting their businesses started and really are doing deals. You may find some people there in the middle that are just getting into, that their database is starting to produce leads for them. So you just never know where along the journey you're going to meet somebody. So I wouldn't not call anybody, but just knowing that the upper 40% of the people are doing most of the deals, are doing, what is the term? The Pareto principle. 20% of the realtors are doing 80% of the business. So you want to get in there in that 20% of realtors that are doing it. And you can meet them at meetups, you can meet them at any kind of networking event, you can cold call them, you can go into their office, you can call them and set up a meeting. But you probably want to know what you're talking about before you do that.
How would you introduce yourself, Bill, to a new agent?
How would I, or how
Yeah, just
should
how would,
people?
well, both ways. Like, how would
Yeah.
you do it, and
When I
how
was
should new
new, when
wholesalers do
when
it?
I was new, I would say, hey, I'm an investor. I've got a couple rentals. I'm looking to do fix and flips. I'm looking to buy more rentals. These are the areas I'm looking in. What areas do you service? Do you ever speak to people? Do you ever sell things off market? I'm willing to pay your commission, whatever it takes. I'm willing to potentially give you the listing on the back end. But I'm here to network. I'm here to do deals. Hopefully, you know how to get it closed. Hopefully, you have a hard money lender, or you have money that you've raised, or you have money in your account right now. I don't know, but you want to provide to them the confidence that what you're saying is true and that you're going to be able to get that done. And one of the things in the beginning, if somebody's brand new, you don't have that confidence, but you could always just partner with somebody that maybe has the money, or partner with somebody that, knows what they're doing. There's plenty of ways to do it. But you basically you really want to do what you say. You want to back up what you say and be able to close on time. You don't want to let these people down because your reputation is everything in this business.
I love that. If you were starting back out just wholesaling today, I know disclosure is very important in this day and age with wholesaling. Like, how would you disclose if you were asked? Like, because I'm against just coming out and saying, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Travis. I'm a wholesaler." I don't like that. Like, you sounded like a client. So when you sound like a client, the realtor is like, "Okay, I want to talk to this person. There's commission. I'm going to make money." But when you
Yeah.
call and you say, "I'm a wholesaler," and you say all these strange words, that could scare the
Yes.
agent, right?
Yes. Wholesaler will scare most agents off because what does wholesaler mean to them? Unlicensed, unruly person that may lead people at the closing table because they only hear the bad stuff about that. So that's probably a word you don't want to use. But an investor that's closed a couple deals in your area, that's a much warmer term. And it has to be true if you're going to say it. But yeah, that's how I would do it. I would steer clear of certain words that would scare realtors off
And,
when you're trying to build that relationship.
Good. I like that. And I just wanted to make sure that because I know two people asked, like, they're confused probably because they're starting off as a wholesaler. Maybe they don't have intentions to buy yet. But I feel like as you're getting in the wholesaling, you kind of have to put yourself in that mindset that you are going to be the buyer. And if the right deal comes along,
100%.
you would flip it, you would rent
Yeah.
it. So when you tell that agent that, you have to have the confidence that, look, I have different exit strategies. It could be wholesale, it could be this, it could be that. I got to figure it out first. That's how
Yeah.
I just wanted to say how I would introduce
Yeah.
myself as a wholesaler.
Yeah. I think you bring up a point that I didn't think about. Um, I think wholesaling, using realtors' inventory to wholesale could be problematic unless you have a verified buyer that's going to close. And I never did that, so that wasn't even in my mind. I've always went to a seller or went to a realtor and said, I'm the buyer. Because then when you sign that contract, you are the buyer. You can assign it later, right? Your contract may give you the ability to assign it. Hopefully it does if you're a wholesaler. But ultimately, the day you sign that contract, you're the buyer. And so there were times when I would buy things that I couldn't wholesale. So I know in the beginning it's tough because you don't have the experience, you don't have the funds, maybe partnering with somebody. But you better be darn sure that if you're dealing with a realtor and you're going to wholesale something they give you, you better be darn sure that you do it.
Especially in these smaller markets, right? Like we're in, where
Word gets
reputation
out quick.
matters. Because,
Yes.
in places like Dallas and Phoenix, agents are more familiar with wholesaling. It's more transactional and more normal. But around here, it's a little different in these small markets, right? And
Correct.
agents don't want to do anything that's going to get them in trouble or waste their time.
Hmm.
And then it becomes an education thing. You got to educate the agent here on what you're doing. Like I like to, for example, David, most of my deals I'm not borrowing money on. Me and David are partnering on. He's my JV partner. So if I'm speaking with an agent and the agent brings me a pocket listing, let's say it's not listed yet, because if it's listed, me and David know it's probably not a deal for us, most likely. Sometimes it can happen. But
Hmm.
anyway, so hey, look, I don't know what we're going to do with this yet. I'm really not sure. We could just buy it as is, resell it. We could flip it, but I really don't know until I get my partner in there. And I need a due diligence period and understand during this due diligence period, there's a chance this could happen. We might have to renegotiate. We might have to cancel. So if you're being upfront with the agent, I feel like that's fair. And the agent understands, the agent can go to their client and explain what's going on. But there comes to a point with wholesaling where if you're really just finding the buyer and you have no partner to partner with, and you're pretty much just being an agent, right? Wouldn't you, David and Bill, agree that you're kind of telling the agent, let me partner with you even though I'm unlicensed?
Yeah, yeah, that's what you're doing. You're basically just out there trying to find a buyer. And it got so hard. when the market ran up, because the realtors could just throw anything on the MLS and it would sell. There was a million buyers out there. But as things come back to more normal, days on market start to extend out, you're going to have more of those opportunities. But yeah, I think what what Travis said is right. That's how you would go into it. That's how we always did it. If we knew we were going to wholesale something, we would say to the seller or the agent or whatever, "Hey, what this is what I would say. I would say, hey, we're putting this under contract. The closing date is, such and such a date. There's a lot of things that could happen. It does say, this is an assignable contract. That might mean that we might put it in a new entity. We might bring one of our partner buyers with us. But we're probably going to need to come in. We're probably going to need to get our contractor in here. Maybe one of our lenders is going to want to see it. Maybe we may partner with one of the guys in our meetup group. Maybe we might, assign it over to them. But in the end, all you need to worry about, or you don't need to concern yourself with anything. What's going to happen is that closing date's going to show up and we're going to close it. And that's how I would say it. So a lot of things can happen. Don't worry about it. It's the process. But on that closing date, we're going to close it. And so a couple times in the past, we had to buy it because we misread the market or whatever it was. Um, yes, you can renegotiate and all that kind of stuff, but maybe you need to. Maybe you found something that nobody disclosed. They didn't know about it. You didn't know about it till you got in there and the foundation's destroyed or something like that. That's legitimate, right? That's something concrete you can put in front of them and say that. But typically, I'm not, renegotiating unless I find something like that show up.
Yeah, you can't just build a business off of getting people under contract and trying to renegotiate a lower
Yeah.
price.
Nobody's going to want to do business with you, especially the realtor world.
Well, that brings us to another point is as a
Mhm.
wholesaler, it's very important for you to find some people in your market that you can work with. Some people that you can joint venture with, some flippers, some investors, some landlords, that's network net worth. So if you can get out there and go to your local RIA groups, your meetups, whether they be in person or virtual, and try to network a little bit. And that opens up a whole new world of wholesaling for you. If you
Yeah,
can.
yeah. If you're not mining those available networks, you're missing out on big opportunities. The local RIAs are huge. Yeah, like I said, I'm a business partner there. I've got plenty of people I've done multiple deals with, closing attorneys, lenders. Sometimes lenders will bring you deals. I mean, you never know who you're talking to. If people see that you have a credible history and that you can close deals, they're going to bring stuff to you because they want their people to be satisfied, their clients or their friends. And the other big network for me is like we're talking about is my realtor network. Like I'm big inside my realtor network. Anytime they ask me to come and present on some nichey, cool investor thing that people are interested about or whatever, or hard money or the Burr strategy or storage or whatever, I go and do it because I'm always going to pitch what I do and people are going to get to know me and things are going to show up on my plate because I'm putting my stuff out there. So that network is huge because, like we said earlier, that's who's lead generating. There's a lot of opportunity there.
I love this call because I feel like in this day and age in real estate, this stuff is needed because everything's about systems. And like I know it's easy, guys. I know it's easy to just go get a system, set on your computer, pay some money, and all this stuff's available to you. You can just set and call data, these sellers. I know all that's cool. But there comes to a point in your business where you will just be spending money and you're like, man, I need to offset some of this marketing costs. I need to try to figure something out. And this is your way to do that. This is like Bill said, I mean, if you get just a handful of realtors to send you one deal a year, that's power. I love this.
What I did was because I'm a realtor, I went to my local association and I downloaded the whole list of all realtors. And I made a video of me walking through a house that I had bought. And I don't remember all the details, but I called it the three options available to you. One was like, hey, I'll buy your off-market deal, um, and I'll let you list it. One was like, I don't know what the other one was. And the final one was like, if you have a client, investor client that's looking for hard money, we can provide that for you. So we were saying three options. We'll buy any nasty stuff. We'll let you list it. I don't know what the other one was. And the other one was like hard money. And I just sent that video out to everybody in there. And, like a handful of people reached back out to me. But you got to put your stuff out there.
Yeah, that's a great idea of using all the people in your local association, MLS.
Hmm.
That's that's a powerful, powerful network. And not only is it agents, it's a lot of vendors and a lot of different people like that, appraisers, inspectors. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
people inside of that realtor network, attorneys, title companies. It's a vast network. And
When
go ahead.
we made, just to illustrate your point, when we made the decision to start buying storage, we started talking about it at our meetup group, and we posted on our private Facebook group. And one of the lenders we do business with was like, "Hey, look at this one; it got listed today." And it was like right in our backyard, and we got an offer on it that day, and that was the first one we bought. We didn't know about it because we didn't have like a search set up or anything like that. But a lender heard us talking about it at our meetup and told us, "Hey, go look at this one. This looks like a good deal, or this is something that just popped up." And Mike underwrote the deal, and we got the offer out, and we got it. We already knew the listing agent because the power of our meetup, like in doing lots of deals, you just get to know a lot of people. And so that credibility is just going to like churn for you long term. And it's just going to help you, just being more credible is going to help you do more business.
Yeah, we Travis and I looked at a house the other day, and um, a guy that's head of one of the top people, head of lending for City National Bank, which is a more of a smaller regional bank here in our area, called me. Says, "Hey man, got this house, and it's a family house,
Hmm.
you know, through his wife,
Yeah.
but he knew me, and he said, "Hey, we just want to sell this thing, man. You know, we want to sell it and get gone." And so Travis and I went and took a look at the house and stuff. But I mean, there's a guy, and then I have one that I just recently flipped, and it's under contract now, and that came from my insurance agent,
Yeah. You
who,
never know.
yeah, who is also now a realtor. And
Yeah.
he just calls me up one day out of the blue back in October and says, "Hey man, I got a house think be perfect for you." Just I'm like, okay. So, that's just my network. That's just people I deal with, talk to. I have my insurance with this guy, and he sends me a deal, you know.
I'm laughing because the story I just told was a lender from City National Bank.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well,
that
hey,
sent us that
who's
storage deal.
yeah? So lenders, they're dialed in. They're dialed in. They
Yeah.
know what's going on in the
Yeah,
market.
they know the investors. They have stuff that pop up that, that are in default. I've had lenders call me say, "Hey, we're probably taking this back. Would you have any interest in this thing, or what would you do here, or what could we do here?" So yeah, I mean, the people that are doing business are going to have business available for you. So get to know them.
Yes, build those relationships. So sit down, look at your circle of people. See who you're connected to, see who your family's connected to, and use it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what you've got to do to
That's
do
that
good.
that's old school business. That stuff will never go out. That's
No.
why I don't think realtors, you have like Zillow that's trying to eliminate realtors, but I don't think you can eliminate realtors because they know the neighborhoods, they have the networks, they know the local areas, they know how to get things done. Whereas if you have this nationwide website, I mean, how many times have you looked at the Zestimate and it's not even close, right? That's
Yeah.
how accurate that stuff is. So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of technology out there, but you can't rely on that. You have to get old school, and you have to meet people, you have to talk to people, and you have to, get in front of them, have a beer with them, whatever.
If you spend any time in the real estate business, particularly as an agent or done a lot of deals, you realize how arduous that a lot of these deals can be, and how much conflict there can be between buyers, sellers, lenders, appraisers, inspectors, and websites won't fix that. The only thing that fixes that is capable agents in between, smoothing things, negotiating things, presenting things the way they should be, and it's lots of times it's the presentation of information, and that's where agent skills comes or becomes so valuable, is the agents that can do those sort of things, because there is real estate transactions are anything but conflict free sometimes. So
Yeah, very true. I read a book a long time ago. I think it was like The Art of the Conflict or something weird like that. But it was all about negotiation skills. And the guy said in like early one of the early chapters, there's two types of agent. There's a collaborative agent and there's a combative agent. And I learned that early on that I'm always trying to make the other agent a friendly relationship or a partner in the deal because invariably there's going to be a situation that comes up that's a problem, and if you're butting heads already or trying to win over, doing a power struggle, when that issue comes up, it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well for you because they're probably going to want to push back. But if you have a collaborative relationship with that other agent, then it's going to be so much easier to get by, I think. And that's worked for me for what, for
yeah,
10 years now.
yeah. And I know this sounds, a little screwy, but when I get offers on my properties, some of the first things I ask is who's the agent on the other side. Like if
Hmm.
it's on a property that I'm selling through, I list it with my company, but I don't list it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, who's the agent? And they tell me, I go, oh yeah, okay, let's see if we can't work this out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the agents are that important on the other side. How they approach these deals and how they want to work these deals, because they can kill these deals as quickly as they can make these deals. So
Totally. I could tell you a million stories, but yeah, you might have inexperienced agent on in another deal, and a problem come up, and they don't. You have to find out from them what's the problem because I had an agent that was doing like her second deal, and it was like a double wide or something like that, and the lender had a problem with that, and she's like, "We got to get out of the deal. We're going to send you a release." I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Call this guy." And let's get this thing back on track. So we called the guy that knows how to do those deals, and I helped her and my seller close that deal.
mhm.
So you have to, just like you're saying, you have to know who you're dealing with.
Yeah, and that was really good information for her as a new agent. Unfortunately, as a new agent, you've got to learn this stuff along the way.
You do, yeah. And um, hopefully you have an agent on the other side that has some experience, or
Yeah,
you're not doing your buyer seller any justice.
right. And you've got a good training program in house and a lot of different things that really help
Good
bring,
mentor program, yeah.
yeah, bring agents on. So, okay. Anybody else have any questions here, real quick? I'll just kind of open it up to you,
Yeah, we can do
Travis.
an open discussion. Somebody has some questions, just raise your hand and talk. It's all good. Everybody can talk a little bit.
While they're doing that, we our hard money lending company just so we're based out of Martinsburg, West Virginia, Hagerstown, Maryland, Frederick, Maryland, Charlestown, two words, West Virginia. So the Eastern Panhandle and like Central Maryland, that's kind of where our business is. And we do loans down in Virginia and down towards Baltimore and Central PA. We started going out into Morgantown, so we've done one in Fairmont. We've done two in Morgantown, one in Brewston Mills. So we're starting to do deals out that way. So we're starting to get pulled because there's not a lot of hard money lenders in West Virginia. So I do get calls from kind of all over the state. So that's kind of like our footprint of where we do stuff, the kind of the mid-Atlantic region, and then going out a little bit further than where we used to fix and flip because we can do a lot more deals in a larger area as a hard money lender rather than having to be there, and find contractors and stuff like that.
That's a lot of people's biggest trouble, man. Like a lot of people don't want to get started in wholesaling. They want to do other things, but the biggest hurdle I hear is I just don't have the money. I don't have the money, and it's because, a lot of people, there's information out there, but unless we look for it, we don't see it. That's how it is. So,
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about that if that's all right. I know we've been talking about realtors, but let's talk about a little bit about that money, how you're lending and how that works, and
Yeah,
that you don't need your own money.
you don't. You don't. So one of the reasons wholesaling is so hard is because traditionally there's a formula, 70% rule minus the rehab, right? Well, now you got to put a wholesale fee on top of that. So you got to go deeply discounted. So, say the ARV is 200 and 70% is 140, $40,000 rehab. So the typical flipper's going to be paying 100. So you're already 50% of ARV, right? Now you got to go deeper. You got to go 40% of ARV or 45% of ARV just to get a wholesale fee out of it. So it is difficult to do. That's why wholesaling is not easy. You got to find the 1% of the 1% that are so motivated, or have such a serious problem, and also they got to have equity because to get to this 45% of ARV, you got to have equity. So you're looking for something tough there. That's why sometimes you can't get it, but it's a flip. So why don't you just flip it, or partner with somebody that knows how to flip it. And that's where you would want to have some lending, or have some private money or a hard money lender. But what was your question, Travis?
Didn't really have a question. I was just
Yeah,
seeing if we could talk a little bit more about
yeah,
that because I know that's a big question I get from people all of the time. That man, I really want to do fix and flips, or I'm a contractor. I want to do
yeah,
fix and flips, but I don't have the money up front. How do I do this? Do I go to banks? This is a huge question.
yeah. Okay, that's what your question was. Sorry. So we basically look at it the same way I was just talking about. So we lend 70% of the ARV. So that means sometimes now you also have some fees and some closing costs, so that may take you over 70%. So typically if you do your first deal, we like you to have some skin in the game. But once you do a couple deals and say you're getting at 65% of ARV, then you can get almost 100% financing for your deals. But we don't typically like to do that on the front end or the first deal. We want you to kind of prove yourself a couple times. So there is a little bit of money you got to put down, but knowing where, what we're going to lend, you can figure that into your offers, right? Um, and if anybody's interested, you could just email me and I'll send you a whole big email about how our loans work, so you have an idea of how that whole business works. Even if you're talking to another hard money lender, everybody's a little bit different, but everybody's also similar in how they underwrite the deals and how much they're going to give you. Some are giving 65%, maybe some are giving 75%. I don't know. It just depends. We're at 70% right now.
Does it have to be a fix and flip? Like, for example, can it be me and David finds a house, we pressure wash it, clean it out, put it up on the market, kind of like a hotel wholesale type of deal?
Yeah.
You do stuff like that?
Yeah. Yep. We do have a minimum of 3 months interest because if we're going to raise the money and we're going to put it in the deal, we don't want to have to give it back to the investor, 3 weeks later. So we do have a minimum of three or 90 days interest. So you'd have to factor that in. But yes, I mean, nowadays, what stays on the market is like 30 days. So I don't know what it is in your area. It's like 30, 35 days around here. So you would have that, and then you'd have another, 30 days on market potentially, another, maybe another 30 days to close. So that's probably not going to be an issue, that interest, that minimum interest.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a wonderful way to get started as a new investor, kind of get your feet wet. So your first flip, the first deal, let's go back to the first deal, Bill, that you done that was not a wholesale. That scary point where you made that jump
Mhm.
over to a potential flip. What did that kind of look like for you?
Luckily, the first deal I did where I was holding it non-wholesale, or the first flip I did, because it was
First
two
flip.
different periods of time.
Okay. First flip.
First flip. Okay. So the first flip we did, we were really worried about it. It was in 2018. We were like, well, let's underwrite this as a rental. And then if we can't sell it on the market, then we'll just hold it as a rental. So we bought this half duplex for like $35,000. We put $20,000 into it, and it ended up selling for like over $100,000. It was an amazing deal, but it was, see, we really don't have those crazy great numbers like we used to back then because we had such a big run up. But we were all into that for like $50,000. So what we did was we had a private lender that we just borrowed all the money from, and then paid all the interest on the back end when it closed. So that was a little bit easier because during the period where we were wholesaling, I was buying rentals, Mike was buying rentals. Mike had a W-2 job, but I didn't. I no longer had a job. So my only option was to raise private money. So I figured out how to do that. I learned that skill. I just started asking people in my network. We were doing a large mail campaign. And when you do a lot of mail marketing, you're going to speak to landlords. I met a guy that had like 100 properties in our area, and I asked him if he lends private money. He said yes. And so my very first rental that I bought, he lent me the private money on. And then I was, in and out of it in like 6 months, or refinanced it out in like 6 months, or whatever the seasoning period was. And I just kept using that money and over and over. And then as we got bigger, I raised more money and more money. And so we already had raised money by the time we got to that point where we started to flip. So we had the private money for that.
Okay.
But you could use hard money. In some cases, you might be able to use bank money, but you have to build those relationships ahead of time because you don't want to get to where the deal is and then try to figure out that it's too late at that point. If you get to that point and you don't have, a relationship with a bank, and you don't have a private lender, and you don't have a hard money lender, then call Travis and Coach because they'll show you how to get the deal done.
You, you said something
But
that was gold just now. You said that you sent out some direct mail and, you talked to a tired landlord and turned him in the private money. And that's so important when you're spending this money on marketing, when you're having conversations that you might be able to make something work with that person that's not what you think. I thought that that was really cool. I just
yeah,
wanted to sprinkle that in.
yeah, yeah. You have to have conversations with people and see where it leads. Another cool thing that when I was getting started as a realtor, there's always a lot of apprehension to call people that you don't know, to cold call people, or to pick up somebody calls you and pick up the phone and ask them for something. There's always apprehension in that for most people. Like the really good wholesalers just don't have any apprehension. They're just built that way. But most people aren't that way. And so after I did it for a while, I still had that apprehension, but then I created an affirmation that was based on truth. And the affirmation I would just read before I started making my calls. And it would say, when I make calls, I build great relationships, and those relationships turn into friendships. And that's exactly what happened. I would call people and I would build a relationship with them. I would help them do something. They would lend money, and then we would become friends. So I would say that to myself when I was doing those calls, and it made me easier to get those calls done. Just a little nugget that worked for me.
That's good stuff. Using a positive affirmation like that before you get started. Um, yeah,
That's
that's
what's um, that's
yeah,
what's great
that's
about the
gold.
Keller Williams network. There's a lot of self-development stuff in the KW network. I'm sure there are in some other brokerages, but Keller Williams is in my opinion the top. They're like the number one training company in the world. And so they had a lot of opportunity for me to learn the skills to lead generate and to talk to people and build a database and stuff like that. So that was very key in my early days.
Okay. Yeah, years ago, I used to be an ERA franchise. So we used to franchisee. We used to do a lot of training and go to Kansas City, and the brokers always had to go to these different trainings. But one thing that I always tell people that when you get on the phone, before somebody answers the phone, you got to put a smile on your face. I see people making cold calls and they just sound monotone and dead. And you gotta
Yeah.
put a smile. People can
Yeah.
people can hear a smile on the other end. So, just little tips and tricks like that will make all the difference if you're out there working a cold call list or you're on a dialer or you're on something like that. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
just smile, and people can hear it and they can feel it on the other end.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of these things called in Keller Williams network. It's called bold affirmations. And it's all these little things that make you think about how things should be. One of them is like what you're saying. It's like if you if you act with what is it? If you act with emotion, then the other person will feel that emotion or something like that. I really butchered it, but it's like if you are enthusiastic, people will feel your enthusiasm, something like that, what you just said. And it's really cool. They have a lot of there's probably like 25 of them that are just little things that remind you of how to be when you're lead generating.
Yeah, back in the day, in the old ERA days, we used to do something. This is back in the mid 90s even, and we would call it Team Tuesday Night. And so all the agents would come in, and I'm dating myself, but all the agents would come in, and we would take a phone book, and we would start with the A's, and we'd start calling.
Yeah.
Just and
That
we'd
that
buy
is yeah,
we'd buy
old school
pizza.
hardcore.
What's
That's
a phone
hardcore.
book, David? What's a
Phone
phone book
book,
again?
phone book. No
Yeah.
lists,
Yeah.
phone book. And we would set and make calls. There'd be 8 or 10 of us. And we would call for a solid hour. And then we would eat pizza and go home.
Yeah.
And that was part of the ERA way back in those days. So,
That's what that is doing is that's building the habit of that will feed you for the rest of your life. If you can get through like you're doing the hardest thing possible, cold calling somebody that you don't even know if they even live in a house, or own
right.
their own house or whatever, that's the way to do it. Put yourself in a situation where it's scary and you overcome it and you build a great skill out of it.
Mhm.
Yes, because 8 years ago when I started this, guys, I wasn't cold calling people, and I had so many butterflies. But now, I mean, you could just throw me phones left and right, and I'm just talking left and right. So it just takes skill, repetition. But everything that Bill said today and David said and what we talked about, like there's a lot of gold in this. Like you guys need to go back and listen to this replay because if you listen to all of these videos, with us at least, it talks about building relationships, really getting to know people. You don't become friends with someone by calling them once and saying, oh, yeah, we like each other. Let's stay in touch, and then never calling and texting again. It's hard to build relationships. It really is. But once you build that relationship and that trust is there's more money than you could ever imagine that can come from it.
Yes.
Totally. Yeah, they always say that there's like it's like a target and there's a lot of people on the outer rims that and then there's an inner circle. These are all the people that you've done business with before, and then there's a super inner circle. These are all the people that know and trust you. And so your job is to get people into that inner circle through whatever your lead generation strategy is or whatever you're doing. And the more people you get in there, the more business you're going to get because the people that know and trust you are going to call you first because they already know who you are, they already know what you're all about, and they trust that you're going to get the deal done. So you keep bringing people into that. There's a bunch of people maybe you just recently met with business cards, they're on the outer circle. But if you call them and you go to lunch with them and maybe you end up doing a deal with them, they come into this circle, and then the more you do, you get them into this circle. And so that's how the database works. You're trying to get people to trust you and to know you better, and the result of that is more business because
Yeah.
people want to work with people they know and trust, and to give uh they want to know that the people they give you are going to get service correctly, right? Or whatever it is, their house is going to get sold safely.
And like Bill said earlier, make sure you're sending when you're out looking at these houses and these houses are real pretty and ready for an agent. Make sure you start referring those people and saying, "Hey, look, here's my realtor's number. Tell her Travis Goodwin gave you a number. She'll take care of you." And if you're that agent hears your name all of these times and they're going to help you. That's reciprocity. That's what that's called. And
That's
they're
a
going to
great point.
want to help you
Yes.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't just take. You got to give. The more you give, the more you get. There's a good book called The Go Giver. Read that about uh, giving and see what you get back.
Absolutely. Okay. Does anybody else? We're kind of closing in on it here. If you have some questions, feel free to. Okay. Thomas can you read that, Travis?
What is it? I'm working on that now, collecting people. Okay, that was him. No, Thomas just was trying to make sure that Bill. There's a few people in here that wants to talk to Bill. So Thomas, Robin, they're sending their emails. I don't know if Bill got them, but we can send you the chat if they didn't. If
Do
you
you want me
didn't
to
get
put
it,
my email address on here?
yeah, do that. Drop your email
Okay.
for everybody, Bill, in the
Let me see
chat.
if find the. Oh, there it is. Okay.
It's been quiet today, David. Nobody's talking with us, man. It's just been
I
us
know.
three.
Last week they were wearing it out.
I know, man.
We do this call once a week, Bill, every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. So we have different guests
Okay.
on and we cover different topics. And
Well, that's good. You
There it
guys
is.
are definitely giving back.
Yeah, man.
yes,
So Bill dropped his email in here. So anybody that needs to contact Bill to talk private money or whatever, I'm sure Bill will have a great conversation with you, no matter what you want to talk to him about. As long as it's real estate, keep it real estate rated with Bill, okay?
Yeah. Where is everybody from? Is you said they're from all over the world, right? All over
Yeah,
the
all
nation.
over.
Okay.
yeah, we got Christine. She's where? She's out of the country.
I
Is she in here now?
think she left. I think she had to go.
Columbus. Yeah.
Columbus, Ohio, DMV. Yeah, I'm close. I'm about an hour from DC.
Ontario. There's
London,
a lot of
Ontario.
investors in
London,
Canada that's
Ontario.
investing here. Yeah, there's a huge number of Canadian investors that's getting into wholesaling and getting into rental properties here in America. I've talked to a lot. But okay. Yeah, I mean, David, we appreciate you, Bill. I mean, I don't have any further questions. If you want to just end us off here correctly, David, I appreciate you guys.
Bill, thank you for coming on, buddy. I really appreciate it. Well, it's been great. Good catching up with you.
Yeah. Thanks for having
Um,
me on. Nice to talk to you guys. Thanks, Travis. Thanks, Coach.
yeah.
Um,
And so
enjoyed
everybody,
it.
thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for spending some time with us here today. As always, if you need anything, reach out to Travis or myself. We'd be glad to answer your questions, collaborate with you in any form. And as always, go to our YouTube, Facebook, like, follow, subscribe. It helps us kind of grow the group. We're over 700 people, closing in on eight. So things are growing pretty fast. And until next time, learn it, execute it, repeat it. Thank you for watching.
Oh, and if you find any storage deals, email them to me. Just say that. Thanks,
Thanks.
guys.
Thanks.
See